Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Farrah and it's been a little while since I posted anything, but I wanted to come on here and give you guys a little update, a reading update. This essentially is actually my October reading wrap up. I just have not had the time to post videos or make videos as months and events are occurring, but I have a little time right now, so I'm going to share with you my reading update. I have more books, obviously I read in November, but I'm going to wait and do a separate video on that so it's not too long. So let's get started. For October, I ended up reading 5 books. I read 2 as physical books, 1 as digital, and then 2 as audio. I participated in 2 of the events that were going on. I did Victober and I did Occult Detective October. So it was a great reading month. I didn't get to like as many spooky reads as I wanted to. That always happens. But what I did get to, mostly I really enjoyed. So I'll start with my least favorite and work my way to my favorite as usual. And I'm just going to try to keep the details pretty short because I'm struggling a little bit to remember some things about them. So I'm going to get started. These aren't really in any particular order, but I'm going to save my 2 favorites for last. So the one nonfiction book I read this month was called Playing Possum, How Animals Understand Death, and this is by Susana Monro. Now this book I listened to as audio because I couldn't get a copy of the digital book in time, and the audio was easier to obtain. And this was a book kind of explaining how animals perceive death, if they do perceive death, some of the behaviors they show. And it talks about many different types of animals and kind of going up from more simpler ways that maybe they think that they perceive death or maybe they don't, up to really complex animals that really seem to show a very complex emotional response to death within their herd or their family members. And the whole concept of the book was really interesting. It was a very philosophical way of telling how they may perceive death, more so I would say than a biological reasoning, and I found that the information was very interesting. It may have been a little bit repetitive in some parts though, and I kind of felt like I was wanting more by the end of it. I don't know how much I really learned or took away or how much really stuck with me. It's one of those books I think would have been much better absorbed if I had read it and I had been able to tab things that I enjoyed about it. And I would say there were 2 things that kept it at a lower rating for me. I believe I gave it 3.5, 4 stars. One was that the audio narrator was not my cup of tea, unfortunately, and I don't seem to be the only one that feels this way, luckily. But she had a very distinct way of narrating, and it was really hard to listen to, very difficult. And I had to put her up to like 175 speed to even tolerate it, and I don't even know why I kept going with it, but I was so interested in finishing it and it wasn't that long, so that's why I stuck with it. The other thing was that there were a few chapters that talked about infanticide or parents killing their babies within the animal kingdom that were very hard to read. And then there was also a section about violence within chimpanzees and dolphins within their herd. And it was difficult if you're an animal lover. I mean, I know it is what it is. It's nature. It's their way of doing things, but it still wasn't very nice to read about. So yeah. Anyway, that was that book. I recommend it if you're interested in the subject, but definitely do not get the audio. I would not recommend the audio. Next, I did a reread of Magic Bites by Kate Daniels, and this is book number 1 in the Kate Daniels Occult Detective Supernatural Urban Fantasy series. This is a 10-book series that I've been wanting to read forever. And I read the first book the first time, I think 2 years ago during Occult Detective October, and I'm interested in continuing on with the series. I have book 2 ready to go. So I wanted to reread book 1 so that I could be fresh to start book 2, which, spoiler alert, I haven't started yet, but I will very soon. And this follows our main character, Kate Daniels, as she investigates the murder of her guardian, her father figure in her life, who mysteriously was killed. And she comes across 2 different factions within this community. There's the shapeshifters, and then there's the necromancers, which control vampires and the dead. And the whole world building is really interesting. They live in an alternate reality like ours, but there are waves of magic versus technology. So sometimes when the technology is working, there's no magic, and then it'll shut off, and then all of a sudden everything works with magic. So people that have magical abilities, their abilities become heightened or more powerful, and then they dim down when there's these moments of technology. So it's a really interesting premise. I liked it much better on the second reread because I knew what was going on a little bit better. There's a little love interest in there, but that's not a huge focus of the book. It's more about the mystery. And I just love the main character. She's really funny. She's really strong. She can take care of herself. She doesn't put up with anybody's crap. And she's just a really fun character to be in the mind of, and it's told in the first person point of view, so we only get her character's point of view. And I loved it, and I'm really excited to move on to the second book because I've heard that it's a lot better than the first one. And the next book I read was my digital book, and this was a graphic novel called They Call Us Enemy by George Takei. I think that's how you say his name. But he is the actor that played Captain Sulu, General Sulu, not General, whoever he was, Sulu on Star Trek, the original series. And this tells about his story as a little boy when he and his family were taken away from their home during World War II and forced to stay in basically a relocation center or a prison camp for Americans of Japanese descent during World War II. And it tells about his experience, what he remembers, and how it felt, and what the living conditions were like, and how he perceived the whole event as a child. And then also reflecting back with his father about these events and getting his father's point of view of what it was like to experience it as an adult with a family. And they were there for a couple of years. So the whole graphic novel is his experience within those concentration camps and what it was like, and kind of the history behind that, why that happened, what the government was doing about it, and how it finished and how it resolved up to the present day, how he became an actor. It talks a little bit about that and how he found his current partner. So it was a really great memoir. I really, really enjoyed it. It was very fast paced. It was very easy to get through, extremely interesting, and a great medium to learn about that kind of time in history. So I highly recommend it if you like history. It's also, I think, a banned book here in the US. I'm not sure which states exactly, but it's definitely worth a read. I thought it was great. Yeah, very, very good. So now we're down to my two favorite books of the month, and this one I read as part of Victober, and this is a classic called Three Men in a Boat by Jerome. And this one had been on my list to read for a couple of years now, a pretty long time, and I had gotten a copy for my birthday, and I decided to give it a try, and I mixed this with the audiobook as well. So I did a little bit of both, back and forth. The audio narrator was great. I really enjoyed his portrayal of these characters. I read this, I started it in September because I think I was reading this with Mark from Book Time with Elvis, although he read it in a day for his Shorty September, and it took me a couple weeks to actually read it and finish it. So this book is about these three characters, one of them being the narrator / author who tells it from his first person point of view, and their dog that take a little holiday trip on a boat down the Thames River. And it talks about their adventures. First of all, their adventures during this boat trip, but also their reflections of different stories from the past that they remember as they're traveling through these different little ports and stuff along the river. So what I really liked about this was the humor. It was really just this subtle, dry, funny humor. And I thought the writing was really beautiful as well. So there'd be these really funny parts that you're just like, oh my gosh, it's like over the top, but it just makes you chuckle kind of. But there's also these beautiful passages of really gorgeous writing within it as well, when he's describing the river and the environment and the sunset and things like that. It was just a very entertaining book. I took my time with it. I enjoyed every chapter. I mean, there maybe was a chapter or two that were a little slower, or maybe a regression back, or a memory that may have been a little slower, but for the most part, I enjoyed nearly every single page of this. This is a new favorite, a wonderful classic. It's not that long. This is actually a bind-up of another one by him called Three Men in a Bummel, which I will read as well. But it's just fun. It's fun. It's cozy. It's funny. It was just amusing. It was very amusing, and I really enjoyed this. I give this one 5 stars. And then my other favorite of the month was A Woman of No Importance, The Untold Story of the American Spy Who Helped Win World War II by Sonya Purnell. And I started this book last November 2024, during a reading event I was participating in called Dr. No-Vember. And I found out about this book just by Googling spy espionage based on female characters. And I picked this one out at random. And it was so good. It tells a story of Virginia Hall, who was an American spy who worked for the British intelligence department in German-occupied France. And it tells the story of how she helped to set up different networks. She helped organize spy groups and later on guerrilla groups to fight back against the Nazis, how she really pioneered a lot of areas of espionage during this time. And what was really remarkable about her was not only she was a woman, but she was also a woman with a disability. And her disability was that she had a prosthetic leg. She lost her leg in an earlier hunting accident. And so she, first of all, had to blend in, because once the Germans became aware of her and referred to her as the limping lady, she had to learn how to walk seamlessly. She had to speak fluently without any accents. She had to learn everything about French culture so that she wasn't noticed as a spy. And I thought this story was absolutely amazing. It was so inspiring. There was so much action in it. It felt like it was a novel in some ways. And I was so inspired by this. I absolutely loved it. The writing was a little bit stiff at times, but I think the story itself and the characters and the courage and the fearlessness that they showed in pursuing this cause to make France independent from this and to fight back against the Germans, all before the Americans even ever became involved. And whoopsie, it was just such a great book, and I will definitely read it again someday. I played around a little bit with the audio towards the end because I wanted to finish it before Dr. No-Vember this year started. And so I do recommend the audio for sure. I think she's a very good narrator. It's done in a British accent. But I will say, when she does Virginia's American accent, it's a little off. It's not the best, but that's just me being picky. But anyway, this was a wonderful, wonderful nonfiction pick, and that was it for October. I had a great reading month, and I'm excited to share with you what I've read for November, because I also had a wonderful time with the books that I read. But that'll be in a video coming up. I also have a couple haul videos that I want to squeeze in before the end of the year, because I'll be doing the Read What You Own challenge, but hopefully I can get some time to film some things. And that's it for now, but thank you guys so much for watching. As you can see, it is the beginning of the holiday season here, and I hope you're all having a wonderful December so far, wherever you are, and I will talk to you guys soon. Take care, and thanks so much for watching.